It started like any other sunny afternoon in this quiet suburban neighborhood. Kids were out riding bikes, parents chatted over fences, and the sweet jingle of the local ice cream truck rolled through the streets, bringing smiles and sticky hands. But what should have been a peaceful day quickly turned into something no one expected. Just as the ice cream truck pulled up and children rushed to grab their favorite treats, a furious voice cut through the laughter. Enter the infamous HOA Karen, a woman known for her strict, often unreasonable enforcement of the neighborhood rules. This time, she took it to a whole new level. According to witnesses, she stormed out of her house yelling at the driver to leave, claiming the truck wasn't authorized to be there. Kids froze mid-order, confused and scared. But instead of backing down, the driver tried to calmly explain he had permission from several parents. That's when things got intense. What happened next left everyone stunned, phones recording, and neighbors in disbelief. What could have pushed her to confront an ice cream truck like this? And how did it escalate so quickly that the police had to step in, right in front of the entire neighborhood? Stick around, because this story takes a turn no one saw coming, and it all ends with flashing lights and handcuffs. This wasn't the first time the neighborhood had dealt with HOA Karen. Over the years, she'd earned a reputation for calling out minor violations, whether it was a mailbox painted the wrong shade of white or a lawn that wasn't trimmed just right. But nobody expected her to target something as harmless as an ice cream truck, especially not one that had been visiting the area every Saturday for months without issue. Parents had even pitched in to make sure the driver could show up regularly for the kids during summer. Neighbors say she'd been fuming ever since the community voted down a rule she tried to push banning unscheduled vendors. Most thought the issue had been put to rest until today. As the ice cream truck pulled in, several parents stood nearby, watching as Karen stormed across the street with a clipboard in hand, filming the scene with her phone and yelling about rules being broken. The driver stayed calm, but the tension was rising fast. Kids clutched their dollars, unsure what was happening. A few started to cry. One neighbor quietly dialed 911, just in case. What started as a shouting match quickly got physical, but exactly what happened in those few chaotic seconds is still being debated. And that's when the sirens began to echo through the neighborhood. As the police car pulled up, the crowd that had gathered started whispering, phones still pointed toward the unfolding scene. The ice cream truck driver, still standing near the open window, looked shaken but composed. HOA Karen, on the other hand, was pacing in circles, waving her phone in the air and claiming she was the one being harassed. Parents tried to calm their kids, while some neighbors stepped closer, trying to explain what had really happened. That's when a second layer of tension surfaced. One neighbor, Mrs. Jensen, stepped forward, someone who had clashed with Karen before over a community garden project. She began sharing her own story with the officers, saying Karen had harassed a group of volunteers just last month. Another resident chimed in, saying their teenage son had been yelled at by her for playing music too loud during a birthday party. It was like years of pent-up frustration suddenly spilled out. The officers began taking statements, trying to piece together the incident. Meanwhile, the kids sat on the curb with their parents, melting popsicles in hand, still confused about why the treat truck had turned into a scene from a drama. Nobody knew yet who would be held responsible, or what footage might surface online. The neighborhood, once quiet and close-knit, now felt like it was teetering on edge. As more neighbors gathered, drawn by the flashing lights and the echo of raised voices, the atmosphere grew thick with tension. The officers tried to calm things down, but emotions were running high. Karen continued arguing, now claiming the ice cream truck was a safety risk and that the driver had threatened her, something multiple witnesses immediately denied. One mom, holding her toddler, stepped in and told the officers she had watched the whole thing unfold and that Karen was the one who had charged at the truck, not the other way around. At this point, the officers asked Karen to step aside for questioning. She refused. Instead, she started shouting about how the neighborhood was falling apart and how no one respected the HOA rules anymore. Her voice echoed down the street, drawing even more people out of their homes. The ice cream truck, still parked at the curb, stood like a bizarre backdrop to the chaos, a symbol of something innocent turned into a full-blown neighborhood standoff. Tensions peaked when one officer tried to calmly guide Karen away from the crowd, and she pulled back, loudly accusing them of overstepping. Phones were everywhere, recording every second. The kids, now mostly silent, clung to their parents, sensing that something serious was unfolding. And then, just as things seemed like they might spiral even further out of control, one sudden move changed everything. Just as the officer reached out again, trying to de-escalate the situation, a new voice cut through the crowd, one nobody expected. A man stepped forward from the sidewalk, holding up a tablet and saying he had something to show the police. Turns out, he was a delivery driver who had been parked nearby when the whole thing started. His dash cam had caught the entire scene from a different angle. He told the officers he'd seen Karen approach the ice cream truck aggressively, not the other way around, and he was willing to share the footage. The mood shifted instantly. Neighbors leaned in, whispering. Karen, realizing the video might tell a different story than hers, tried to talk over him, insisting the camera didn't capture everything. But the officers were already reviewing the footage, and their faces gave away just how serious things were about to get. The video reportedly showed her slapping at the truck's side mirror and trying to block children from approaching. Then came the second twist. Someone else in the crowd claimed Karen had made similar false claims in the past, including calling security on a family's birthday bounce house the year before. That incident, too, had been caught on video, but was never reported, until now. It seemed this wasn't just one bad day. This was a pattern unraveling right in front of everyone. As the officers watched the dashcam footage, the crowd fell quiet. You could feel the shift. What had started as confusion was now turning into a moment of truth. Karen, still trying to defend herself, began pacing and muttering that the whole neighborhood was out to get her. But it was clear the video showed more than just a misunderstanding. It confirmed that she had escalated things, gotten physical, and disrupted what should have been a peaceful Saturday for kids just trying to enjoy a cold treat. One officer stepped forward, calmly explained that based on the evidence and multiple witness accounts, Karen would be detained for questioning. Her face went pale. The community watched in disbelief as the woman who once handed out fines for cracked driveways was now being calmly escorted toward the police car. The kids stared wide-eyed, still clutching half-melted ice cream, while parents exchanged glances, some relieved, others just stunned it had come to this. But just as people started to process what happened, the final twist landed. One of the officers mentioned they had checked Karen's name during the report and discovered she wasn't even officially part of the HOA board anymore. She had been removed quietly months ago after a vote she never acknowledged. Everything she'd enforced, all the rules, all the warnings, none of it was legitimate. The neighborhood had been dealing with a self-appointed enforcer this whole time. And now, the truth was out. In the days that followed, the neighborhood felt different. There was a quiet sense of relief, like a weight had been lifted. Parents came together to formally welcome the ice cream truck back, and the kids finally got to enjoy their treats without fear of being interrupted. Some neighbors even started talking about planning a small block party, something they'd avoided for years because of past complaints. As for Karen, she was released later that evening, but under strict instructions not to interfere with local events or vendors. The footage and witness reports had been submitted, and the HOA board confirmed that she had no official standing for months. That final twist left everyone wondering how they let it go unnoticed for so long. The ice cream truck driver, who stayed calm through the whole ordeal, was praised for his patience and professionalism. A few families even gave him gift cards and thank-you notes. It became more than just a story about an angry neighbor. It was a turning point for a community that had been too quiet for too long. Sometimes it takes a strange, dramatic moment to bring people together. And this neighborhood, they're finally moving forward, one scoop at a time.